pre-9/11 conditions that gave us 9/11 attacks and the like. It emanates right from here as well. The history of our military involvement there has been significant, and I won't go through the whole thing, but between 2010 and 2014, there was about 30,000 coalition forces in Helmand province. So about 20,000 Marines and about 10,000 Brits as part of the ISAF mission. And we enjoyed great success in Helmand during those years. And so that's kind of where we sat at that point. But as you all know well, the previous strategy was a time-based strategy rather than a conditions-based strategy. So that basically had all coalition forces were removed from the Helmand province in 2014. And that was based on, obviously, based on the numbers of forces that were going to be allowed to stay in Afghanistan. And then because of the location here, it was unsupportable to keep coalition forces in Helmand. And so that pulled back. And then what happens then is a fairly rapid deterioration of the forces, which then leads to our going back last April. The Taliban in Helmand couldn't exist without external support, and they get that external support from a number of the regional actors. Now, the confluence of external support and the poppy production give the Taliban a pretty consistent source of income that allow them to have men, weapons, and material to be able to kind of continue the fight. So I think the components of our strategy to pressurize the regional players to cease support for the Taliban is a really important component, because I believe that if the Afghans only have to deal with the Taliban, they can deal with it. But the Taliban being enabled by regional actors creates that's probably the reason we need to be involved in supporting them. Highways that would allow you to go from places like Nawa and Lashkar towards Kandahar, those are now open and are not they're not significantly challenged by the enemy. So the major population centers are connected for goods and services and people to move back and forth and things like that. As you move into the more rural areas and stuff like that, then that's when there's going to be some challenges to those areas. Weapons that flow to the Taliban, I think the most I can say would just be is I believe a lot of it comes from the regional actors.
I'm Marina Fazal, an Afghan-American journalist.
Recently, there have been more allegations that Russia is becoming much more assertively involved, and I'd like your comments on that. In fact, Afghan media was reporting one of the Russian representatives having a laugh at this and saying that the Taliban just need money to go and buy weapons from the Afghan military, suggesting the level of corruption. The other question is, what would be your main recommendation to the Trump administration? While the Afghan population is anxious about its future, with all the ups and downs at the height of it, as you mentioned, not really quite enough of a commitment to sustain a long-term stability for it to grow and then eventually become something that could be handed over.
Really good questions, and I appreciate those. So as far as the Russian support, I don't know exactly what exactly they may or may not be involved in. We never had anything that we could directly attribute to them. But what they do, I think that's unhelpful, is they have a narrative that says, hey, the Taliban is important to keep ISIS in check in Afghanistan. And I think the Russians really overblow the ISIS presence in Afghanistan. It's very small and very ineffective, and the Russians kind of talk about that as a reason that the Taliban is important, and that's unhelpful. It's unhelpful for the region, it's unhelpful for the government of Afghanistan, and it's unhelpful for the alliance. The fat part of the problem is still the confluence of the opium production and external support by regional actors, and that's the fat part of the problem in Helmand, and the most important thing that we need to address. As far as advice I would give, just based on my time there, would be is that it's going to require a long-term commitment to get the Afghan forces where they need the capability. So we need to reduce the Taliban's capability and increase the Afghan capability, and then we need to be committed to the long term.
But also, we need to do something that's affordable for our country and affordable for the alliance and the other donors. Really the intersection between threat and capability and affordability, like we need to kind of set that, figure out what that level of investment needs to be in both resources and forces, and then we need to kind of stay with it until we've achieved the level of success.